Hi everyone, this is Todd Stewart and I'm with Kyle Livingood, and we're going to try to provide some professional development for you in order to get ready for our next generation assessments. End of year assessments start February 16th. Hopefully you are aware of that. And the first part that we're going to do is we're going to just give you a real brief overview and history of where we've been and where we are, how did we got to today. Last year, you might recall that we did some pilot testing. We used two different vendors to do that pilot testing. One is called PARRC, and PARRC deals with math and language arts. And the other vendor was called AIR, and that vendor worked with science and social studies. Last year, we tested probably about 2,100 kids, and around 43 different staff members participated, and it went really well. We're glad that we did it, and AIR stayed very similar to what the pilot looked like. However, PARRC changed a lot, and that's why we're going to be providing you a lot of professional development over the next few minutes here. So the next thing that you want to make sure that you are aware of is what your testing schedule is. Each one of your buildings has a testing coordinator, and usually those are your school counselors, and they have the testing schedule. They've worked with you, and they've probably already shared that, so make sure that you have that. Also, you're going to be seeing in an email a number of links and other videos that will help you get kids prepared for the next generation assessments. They'll provide links to practice tests and other resources that you can use with them. We've shared these back in October, and we're going to share them with you again in case you need them again. Okay, at this point, I want to reference to an email that you're going to receive. The email that I'm going to show you right now is not completely done, but this is going to be an email that you're going to receive that's going to have all kinds of resources and direct you to what you need for getting ready for these tests. Specifically right now, I want to show you in the email, there's going to be a link to all the manuals and specific scripts that you're going to need when you proctor the assessments. So you'll see that there's already a link provided, and I'm going to go to that link now and show you what's in there. So you're going to get access to the staff testing documents, and you can see that it's broken down into AIR and PARRC, PARRC PBA and PARRC end of year, AIR end of year, and AIR PBA. You can disregard EOY and for both AIR and PARRC at this point and just concentrate on AIR and PARRC PBA. For today's training video, we're just going to concentrate on PARRC PBA. So you can see when you click on the PARRC PBA, you're going to be able to get into the scripts. This is going to be actually what you're going to read and give you side notes for proctoring the test, the full manuals, and then again scripts for math. So let's take a look at the manuals just real quick. You can see that they're all available there depending on what grade you teach, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, high school. Most of you don't need to worry about test coordinators or the accessibility features. But if you wanted to have access to the manuals, you have those there. But I think more importantly will be to actually look at the scripts that are available for you. So let's take a look at the ELA scripts. And these are just for the performance-based assessments. I'll add the end of year when we get to that time in April and May. But right now, just PBA is all we need to worry about. So you can see we have grades 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and high school. So if I click on a script for 3 through 5, you can see how detailed the script is. You can actually see what you're supposed to say, and you need to follow these verbatim as to getting kids signed in. We're going to talk a little bit later here on how to actually get the kid to sign in on a Chromebook, but you'll be able to see here that they give you step-by-step instructions on how to sign in and as to what to enter and what to click on. I mean, it's very specific. Nothing that we need to actually teach you how to do. You just need to follow it and review it prior to the actual testing date. So at this point, I want to go over a little bit about things that you need to have on your testing day as well. You're going to need to have tickets for the kids. These tickets will be for both AIR and for PARCC, but again, we're just referring to PARCC right now, so you're going to need tickets, and we're going to show you a little bit later on where you need to get those tickets. You're going to need to have your login information so that you can log into your account so that you can start the testing. You're going to need an emergency contact handout, which will be provided in your email. You'll need your script, which I just showed you how to get to through the Google Doc. And if you're doing math, you'll need to provide scratch paper. You also need to make sure that you have, as I just remembered, headphones for students.
All right, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is passing out Chromebooks to the students for the tests and getting them up to the point to where they will be signing in to take the test. You can do this a couple ways. We saw teachers do a couple different things during pilot testing. You could either call up students by table or row to grab a Chromebook from the cart one at a time, or you could, prior to your students coming into the classroom, set the Chromebooks on their desks so they're already there. Once the students have the Chromebooks, you want to make sure to instruct them to leave the devices shut and not open them up prior to getting them turned on and starting to go through the steps to get into the testing application. Once all the students have the devices, have them open up the Chromebooks and turn them on. Again, instruct them to not do anything once they're powered up. We don't want kids getting ahead of themselves and going to a spot on the Chromebook that they shouldn't be. We don't want them logging in as themselves. We want them getting to the point of the login screen and doing nothing. They want just sit there. Once you go around and make sure all the students are at that screen, you're going to want to have them click on this apps icon at the bottom left of the device, and depending on what test they're going to be taking, in this case we're going over PARCC, you're going to want to have them click Test Nav. And once they click that, it'll launch the PARCC secure browser and take them into a different screen, and that is where they will be able to sign in to get going on the tests. Okay, so the next thing to talk about here is how to get your students into the testing session if they are using the computer labs while taking the PARCC test. If your kids are using the computer labs and not the Chromebooks, the first thing you want to have them do is log into the computers themselves using their normal student account, which is in the format of last name, first initial, dot, last two of the graduation year. Once they are all logged into the computer, you're going to instruct them to look on the desktop for a shortcut called Test Nav. You can see it's right underneath my mouse cursor here. It says Test Nav. You want to have them double click that, and that will open up the PARCC Test Nav sign-in screen, and they will be able to sign in using the username and password that you will provide to them.
Right. So we've shown you how to get the student on a Chromebook. Where Kyle left off is where you would pick up on your script, and it would take you step by step on how to actually log the student in. Some of the items that you're going to need to log that student in at this point will be found on the teacher side of this process, and that's the next thing that I want to show you. So what we've done is we've set up a kind of like a dummy site, and you can actually do this once you get your username and password. We're going to take you through the training site. Just make sure you're in the training site, not in the live site when you do this. But I'll also provide in the email a username and password so that you can practice it even before you get your credentials. So we're going to go to this website, Pearson Access Next, and you'll click on the green button. You'll go down to training. Now when you do it for real, you'll click on your state, Ohio. And you can see that you're in training because it says in the top left-hand corner, training, and it also has a brown background here. When you're in the live site, it's a blue background. First thing that you want to make sure is, as you log in, your school is correct when you're not using when you're using your real account, and you want to make sure that you have the correct testing time period. So we're doing the PARRC Spring PBA 2015. Okay. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to select an action, and that would be sessions. And once you're on this page, you're going to click on the search, and you're going to find the sessions that are under your name. Now you may, when you get into the live site, have numerous sessions down here. For our dummy session, we just have one in place. So just make sure that when you're in the live section, when you're going to proctor, that you're clicking on the correct test session. And it'll be easily identified as in the title. And the title would be right here, obviously. So you would click on that test session. You'd go up to select a task. And you're going to select on student classrooms and sessions and control sessions. When you do that, you're going to get a new page, and you're going to have the test session that you selected on the left-hand side over here. You're going to click on it. And now you have access to all the kids that will be in your test session. For our dummy test session here, we just have one student. They are ready to go. You can see that by the test status over here. So when they log in, it'll actually say active then. I was referring to some resources that you're going to need, such as seal codes and student tickets. This is very important. These items are located underneath the download resources. You can download these actually on the Friday before we test, February 13th. In fact, we highly suggest that you do this on that date so that you have it ready to go for when you actually proctor your test the following week or following weeks. When you click on the drop-down arrow on download resources, you can see that you have seal codes, scheduled sessions, and student testing tickets. We're not going to worry about the scheduled sessions right now. We're just going to worry about seal codes and student testing tickets. The student testing tickets, if you click on it, will give you a printout once you go to print this, of all the kids' usernames and their test codes that they will need for when they sign in. So if you reference back to your script again, you'll see that the students have to provide a username and a password, or in this case, a test code. And these would be the identifiers for that student. In our dummy session here, we only have one student, obviously. When you go live with this, you'll have however many students that you're testing, and you'll be able to scroll down through and get a number of these student testing tickets. And again, you'll want to print these out ahead of time and provide them to the students as you're told to in your script. The other resource that I want to reference you to are the seal codes. And again, you just go to download resources, drop-down box, seal codes. These seal codes you'll need to provide to the students when you're proctoring the test as well. Last year when we did the piloting, teachers just wrote the seal codes up on their boards. If you have that as access, that would be a great idea, or you can give it to them verbally. But in your script, it will tell you exactly when to give the student the seal code for your particular test. And again, all the student has to do is key that in on their computer, and then they should follow along the script that is provided to you. Going back to the seal codes, as you provide the seal code numbers to your student, and just as a reminder to get to the seal code from your testing site, seal codes, and you provide one of these numbers. When you provide that number to the student, they put it in on their end on the Chromebook. Their status should change from being ready to an active status. Therefore, they should be in the test and taking the test as normal.
All right, so the next thing we're going to cover is what to do in the event that you should encounter a problem with one of your Chromebooks. During pilot testing, we saw this a couple times. The device would freeze up or it would lose the connection to the test. In that case, best thing to do is not panic, because you get enough kids going through the testing sessions and using these devices all at once, inevitably you're going to run into a few minor issues. The good news is during pilot testing we did not run into a case where we could not get the student logged back into their testing session. If the device freezes or loses the connection, you're going to want to power down the Chromebook completely, bring it back up, power it back on, have the kids enter back into the testing environment. In this case it would be PARRC, so they would select Test Nav. Once they get to that point, they're going to go through the sign-in process, and then you will go, as a teacher, go into the teacher side of PARRC and into your testing session, and you would look for the student who had an issue with the device. For example, if this was the student here who had the issue, under student test status you would not see ready. You would not see active. You would either see ready or exited. You want to get them to the point to where it says ready. You want to select their student. You want to go up to select tasks, click resume tests, hit start, and that will get them back into testing mode. Once you're done with that, you will click exit tasks, and you will go back to your session, and you will see now that they're active and back into the testing environment. If they should have to go to the restroom, you don't want them to close the Chromebook completely. You'll want them to just shut the screen halfway so other students can't see their screen. And just please be aware that if they leave for a restroom break, that time will count towards their testing time. Okay, so one last thought in relation to issues you might encounter with the devices when students are taking the test. If you encounter a situation where a device freezes up or loses connection, and rebooting them or swapping the device out for a spare device does not get the student back in, or you just can't figure out what the issue is, please refer to the emergency contact list that Todd will be sending out, and just go down that list of contacts until you get a hold of one of us, and we will be happy to assist you in getting your students back into the testing session.
Everybody for participating in our training. We're sorry that it didn't work out timing wise to do it in person with everybody. Manuals came out again too late, and to reschedule all of our testing sessions that were scheduled, it would just been a nightmare. So we appreciate your patience through listening to our voices and our screencasts. Hopefully it's beneficial for you and you feel prepared going into the testing situation. Just a couple things to end. As Kyle mentioned earlier, number one thing, if something goes wrong or that you have a concern about, just stay calm. Inevitably something will go wrong, and we're prepared for that, and we have steps in place. Just stay calm, use your emergency contact lists and the references that we placed in the video. Also, make sure that as you have questions that pop up between now and the beginning of February, please be sure to reference the Google Doc that's in your email to ask questions. We'd like to keep a running record of the questions, almost have a frequently asked question and answer page for our district. Please post your question in there, and either Kyle or I will answer that as we look at it daily to see if there are any new questions. Also, I want to reference in the email one more time the Doodle link for anybody that still feels that they need to have a one-on-one or a group meeting to kind of go over something. During our in-service day, Kyle and I are going to be available on February 13th to meet with people. Click on the Doodle link and select a time to come over to the Board of Education office and to meet with Kyle and I. So again, we want to thank you for participating in our training, and we hope again that it was beneficial in preparation for next generation assessments.